All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. We might have some other folks trickling in, but welcome. Good morning, everybody. So nice to see you all. My name is Victoria Coker. I'm the Executive Director of the New York region of Bottom Line. We're so excited to have you here this morning, kind of the return of our what we're calling coffee hours. So an opportunity to get more of an inside look into how our programs operate and meet some members of our team and some of our amazing students. So here today, we're discussing college essays, right? And the impact that they play in the college application process. So we're joined by a couple members of both our Access team and then our Access students. So I'm going to do a quick intro, but I know that you're really here to hear from them. So we'll hand it off to them in just a short bit. So most of you are familiar with our college access program, but I'll do a quick overview here. And if questions are coming up throughout the event, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll monitor those and just an opportunity to either ask questions generally about the program or additional questions for our panelists or students. We can go to the next slide. So our college access program, as most of you know, partners with students who are in their senior year of high school. So we work with them throughout the entire college application process. So that comes from creating a college list to working on essays, which is going to be the focus of our time together today. We work with students on both financial aid and college applications. And then we help students make a decision for college, which is the time we're in right now. College decision day is on May 1st. So about 25% of our students have made decisions already, but those are coming in by the hour in terms of where students are committing and where they'll be attending college next year. So here in New York, we're serving 400 students this year in our college access program across 120 New York City high schools. That number is always mind-boggling to me, just the sheer number of high schools that exist here in New York City. So we have students across 120 of them. And our advisor ratio here at Bottom Line is about 65-1. And so this is one of the reasons that we can run a really intensive and unique program. The average guidance counselor ratio to student ratio in New York City is about 350-1. So obviously a tremendous amount of students to each counselor. And those counselors aren't necessarily just focused on college, right? They're focused on course schedules. They're focused on, in some cases, mental health support services, whereas our advisors are really focused on the college process and able to provide really intensive and personalized support to each of our students. So again, this is decision-making time. May 1st is typically what we call college decision day. That's when most of our students are making a commitment to their college. Many of our students have already committed to schools, whether it be CUNY or SUNY. We also have students committing to schools outside of New York, whether it be Boston College, Williams, kind of runs the gamut in terms of colleges that our students have chosen. So last year, about 93% of our access students committed to college before graduation. We're well on our way to that goal again this year. And then, as most of you know, one of the key components of our work here at Bottom Line is affordability. And so how many students are making what we call a more affordable choice for college? As we know, financial sustainability is critical to students continuing to persist through college. And so our results, right, these results, the ability to help students through this process are really a testament to the authentic relationships that our advisors build with their students. And so you're going to hear firsthand today about some of those relationships. So I'm going to be joined by our Access Program Director, Jackie Gahanik, as well as Access Advisors, Ian and Mandy, to talk a little bit about their roles in terms of student support around the college application and essay creation process. And then I'm also thrilled to share we have two students on the call with us today, Brandon and Tiara, who are both featured in our college essay book, which will come out, I believe, early next week. And they're going to share a little bit about their process in terms of writing their essays and going through the college application kind of general process, and then a little bit of an excerpt about their personal statements. And then just some housekeeping before we get started. Obviously, feel free to use the chat if you have any questions that you want to elevate for the group, or you can come directly off mute. And we're going to record the session, so we'll send that out afterwards if anyone you want to share with other folks in your network, or just revisit it for your own sake. So I'll pause for a second to see if there's any questions. And if not, I'm going to pass it off to Jackie, who's going to be our panel moderator this morning.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us again on this Friday morning. I'm really excited to see you all here. My name is Jackie Gohanek. I'm the Access Program Director of Bottom Line in our New York region. So I oversee our amazing team of 6 advisors and 1 Access team manager as we support 400 incredible high school students through this college process. I'm really excited to be joined by Ian, Mandy, Tiara, and Brandon today, especially Tiara and Brandon, who have joined us during their day off of school. And before we dive into the questions, I'd just like to do some simple introductions. And as we do these introductions, please share your name. If you're a bottom line advisor, please share that as well. And also everyone to just share your favorite subject in high school. So we can start off with Ian. Do you want to start us off?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ian. I'm an Access advisor, and my favorite subject in high school, I don't know, probably will be math. I love math.
Nice. Awesome. Mandy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Perfect. Yes. Thanks, Jackie. My name is Mandy. I'm a senior Access advisor. I would say my favorite would be English. Definitely not math like you.
Nice. Awesome. Brandon, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, Jackie. Hi, my name is Brandon, and my favorite subject in high school is history.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. A lot of variety in subjects here. Tiara, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Okay. My name is Tiara, and my favorite subject is art.
Awesome. Wow, really a lot of variety, actually. Cool. Well, thank you all again for coming and participating in this discussion with us. We're going to start off with a few questions for Mandy and Ian directly about the college application process. So when we work with students, Bottom Line uses a model called the LEAD model to support our students. So this means we focus first on L for college list making, building lists that are really balanced in terms of admissibility and affordability. E for essay preparation, so supporting students in brainstorming or creating their college essays. A for applications, so their admissions applications and also their financial aid applications like FAFSA. And then finally, D for decision. So where we are right now, which is a really exciting time, but helping students pick the colleges that they would like to attend. So just to move into some questions here, I'll start with you, Ian. So we know that the model that I just shared above and the major milestones we take to support students, but could you share a little bit about what this looks like for the average bottom line student over the course of the year?
Yeah. Okay, so the process first starts off with a little interview to get to know the student more, which is followed by the creation of their college list. Their list is like tailored to them based on their interests and what they want to major in. We make sure that during this time, we let them know what opportunity programs they can apply to when creating their list, such as HOP and EOP, which many students don't know they even qualify for. So after we create the list, we move on to their essay. And at this point, every student's at a different point when it comes to this. Some students may have a fully written draft already, or some students may not have no idea what they want to write about, which that is totally fine because we help our students with the brainstorming, the editing, and finalizing their essay. We also help our students with their supplemental short responses that colleges ask for to get to know them more. And some students may have like 0, some may have 2, and some may have 12. And it's different for everyone, but we help them throughout the whole way. After that section, we move on to applications. We work on filling out the Common App together, FAFSA, TAP, CSS. Honestly, anything related to the college application process, we sit down with our students to help them fill that out. Afterwards, we move on to decisions, which we are now. We sit down, we go over through the financial aid packages, their acceptances. We make sure they understand how much they will have to pay for school and the importance of loans. And if they decide to take out any loans, how much they will have to owe at the end of their 4 years. In the end, our goal is basically for our students to make an affordable college choice by May 1st.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. Definitely a lot of steps throughout the year. Many steps our students have to take throughout the process, and many steps our advisors also have to support them with. Thanks so much. Awesome. So I will shift to a question for Mandy now. So knowing that a lot of this work is achieved through students feeling supported by their advisors during the process, can you talk a little bit about the way you prioritize relationship building with your students?
Definitely. I would say relationships are probably the root of this work. It's all about building trust and like a comfortable space where young people feel they can just share where they're at. You know, we're not trying to add any external pressure. We're here to help alleviate some of that. So it's really important to like lead with authenticity. You know, leading with my experience. You know, I'm a daughter of Mexican immigrants. I did this process alone. Lord, I don't want it to be like that for you. You know, be real with these young people, and that way they can feel more comfortable with sharing, you know, wherever they're at. If they, you know, have a lot of questions or, you know, anything like that. And it's also important to kind of use our role to celebrate, you know, things about them that usually are not usually maybe celebrated like outside of academics. You know, can see the bigger picture of like, you know, other responsibilities they have outside, and, you know, be that outside voice to celebrate those with them.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Mandy. Yeah, really important to celebrate our students and to try to put in traditions in our program to celebrate when they hit major milestones, like our I Hit Submit Wall, where we put up stars when students submit their applications, or when they move their star to the flag where they commit to college, and just celebrating that decision. Awesome. Thank you. Another question for you, Mandy. What do you feel has been the most challenging aspect of helping students during the college application process?
I would say, you know, the biggest barrier is, you know, these outside factors of life, you know, complications of life. You know, young people are juggling, especially in New York City, a lot more than the average, you know, high school student. You know, a lot of our students are consistently being childcare for their younger siblings, you know, taking them to school, picking them up. They're contributing financially, having to juggle part-time work, and now having to fit meetings in with, you know, their advisor. They're taking college classes, you know, socially, they're kind of struggling going back to full in-person school. You know, it's a lot of things these young people are juggling, and we're just trying to, you know, fit in how we can. And it's really hard for them to even be able to give 100% to this process, you know. And so just the fact that students are, you know, finding us and using us as a resource, you know, is a huge step. And so it's, you know, life gets in the way, and it's, you know, while yes, our students are young, they don't have like endless energy, you know, and there's not endless hours in the day, you know, so really meeting them where they're at is the biggest, you know, challenge.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Mandy. Yeah, really appreciate you mentioning all the different challenges that can pop through the process for our students as they go through this already complicated process of applying to college. Cool. So I just wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk directly about college essays. So in the wake of COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic, many colleges shifted their requirements and made submitting SAT scores optional. So before COVID, a lot of schools required that all students send in their SAT scores. But now, given COVID, when less students were able to take the exam, they shifted to that SAT optional policy. But in this, that led more weight being put on other application requirements. So personal statements, extracurricular activities, all those other things that go into their college application, but specifically their personal statement. So from personal statements, supplemental essays, all of those things students need to put on the table and show college admissions officers as they're applying to college. So first question is for Ian. So Ian, students spent a portion of their high school careers during the pandemic. How have you seen this shape their experience and also their personal essays?
So look, for starters, the college essay is important because students may share more about themselves than just their academic performances, especially when they're applying to selective colleges or universities. So like given that the class of 2023 has spent most of their high school time during the pandemic and on Zoom, I feel like they tend to choose that topic to write about for their college essay. So I would tell my students to stray away from that topic for these main reasons. Because one, your personal statements should be unique. We all have been affected by the pandemic in different ways, and what you've been through, someone else probably have as well. Maybe not in the same, but we all have been through different struggles during the pandemic. And then two, the Common App has a section already to talk about the pandemic and how that affected you in a way. So if you really want to talk about the pandemic, leave it for that, and then leave your essay to like describe who you are or what you want to be. So now after I explained that to my students, I did have the questions, or I have students say like, what am I supposed to write about now? And that's where the brainstorming comes in. If you mention the pandemic, let that be a sentence or two, or let it be a reason for why you discover your passion. So during the pandemic, I found my love for XYZ, and then you go from there. So this year, mainly my students wrote about what intrigued them to have a passion for what they want to study. So after reading my students' essays, I could feel the passion and understand why they want to do X, Y, Z for the rest of their future, and how they don't let obstacles stop them from succeeding.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, definitely great advice in terms of having students focus a lot on their experiences and their passions, and how to basically use the college application structure to support them in doing so. Cool. So Mandy, can you speak a little bit more about how you support your students in writing their college essays and encouraging them along the way, like Ian said, to be their authentic selves?
Definitely. I think the essay is often what students fear the most. Whenever we bring it up, it's always like, the posture tenses up. And I think as they're worries, they're consistently worried that, I don't have anything unique to write. What am I going to write? That's always, the fear. And it's our job to kind of prove the opposite. We as, advisors, we have like a bird's eye view of things. We're not at their school, we're not in their daily lives, and we can use that to our advantage and really, see things and bring to light things that, they may not have realized are unique or special about them, or like how I was mentioning, celebrating the fact that having to pick up your sibling every day to and from school, that's in itself is something to celebrate, and we can make meaning out of that. I think also too, sometimes students have the perception that there has to be one way, to write an essay. We have to share something very terrible or something, traumatic that happened to us. If that's, empowering to talk about, then amazing. We encourage young people to write about that, but our students, we don't force them to be in a box. There is no one way, to get into college. And so like sort of establishing that there's no should, there's no how anything's supposed to look like. And like I said, I openly share my own experience. I wrote my college essay about the drive-through, going to the drive-through at Taco Bell. And I went to NYU. So, there is ways, to show authenticity and give insight into our, students that doesn't require, sharing anything that's, you share what you feel, empowered to share. And that's, kind of our role, encouraging that.
Awesome. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, definitely. And thank you for sharing a little bit into your college essay too. Awesome. Thank you. So really appreciate both of your responses to all of those questions. Shifting a little bit, so many of the students who participate in the Bottom Line program and are eligible for our Bottom Line program are students of color from under-resourced communities. So this question, I'll start with Ian, but then Mandy, of course, if you have any additional thoughts, please feel free to add those in. But as you form relationships with your students in the process, of course, as you both mentioned, you learn a lot about their successes and a lot also about maybe the challenges or the obstacles that they're facing. So Ian, I'll start with you, but when you're supporting students through any challenges that they may be facing during this process, how do you take care of yourself while also pouring into your students' cups and supporting them through the process?
Okay. For me, I was in the same footsteps 6 years ago as my students, first generation applying for college with outside hardships, such as money or no support. And if it wasn't for Bottom Line, I would not be where I am today with my degree in psychology from Ithaca College. And I only applied there because Bottom Line introduced HOP to me. And my own high school counselor never mentioned outside programs that I qualified for. So if it wasn't for Bottom Line, I really don't know what school I would have been in. Who knows the amount of loans I would have had. And on top of that, since I was also in a success program at Bottom Line, I had support from my advisor, which I was grateful for. And like college was hard and it wasn't easy talking to someone about this, especially my mom, because she was expecting the best from me. And since she didn't go to college, she doesn't really understand like the true hardships of going to class, waking up, getting everything on time. So I couldn't really talk to my mom about this. So I spoke to my advisor and she got me through it. And I graduated on time during the pandemic with no debt. So like now when I look at my students and I see what they're going through, I take a step back and just tell myself everything will be okay. They will be okay. They have the mental support and the physical support from Bottom Line to graduate in 4 years. So like even though they may be struggling now, it will be worth it all in the 4 years. And they just need to take advantage of the support given to them.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Ian. And we're so grateful that you eventually landed back at Bottom Line and helping students throughout this college process too. Awesome. Mandy, I'll ask you the same question if you have any thoughts to add in terms of how you take care of yourself during this process while also continuing to support your students.
I think having to like say the same advice I'll say to my students of like give yourself give yourself grace. You know, there's no need to do everything tonight, you know, let myself, you know, like I said, give yourself grace. And often sometimes too, when I'll say I'm texting a student late, they'll be like, Miss, it's late, go to bed. We could talk about this tomorrow. So, you know, so they're teaching me too. So I appreciate, again, like when you have like that real authenticity and openness, you can, you know, you teach each other things too. So I'm learning.
Absolutely. Sometimes our students are the best teachers of things like that. Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your thoughtful responses. We're so grateful to have you both on the Access team. And I think just from your responses alone here, it's so inspiring to see how you're supporting students and also just reflecting on your awesome work. I am also so thrilled to have two of Ian's students here with us to hear from directly. Before we get started with Brandon and Tiara, I just want to thank Brandon and Tiara again for taking the time to be here and really taking this day off from school to join us this morning. The first question I will start with Brandon on, and then we'll go to Tiara. But Brandon, can you talk a little bit about how your advisor helped you navigate the college application process and also writing your personal statement?
Sure, Jackie. Ian recommended a lot of colleges for me to do research on, and we did that based on my top 3 important qualities for a college, which wasn't really talked about much, especially in my school. We didn't structure it in that way, so it felt very structured. And Ian also encouraged me to write about one of my passions when I brought the idea up for my personal statement. And then after I finalized my personal statement, he looked over it to make sure that it was really good. And since I was applying to a lot of competitive schools, he also looked over my supplemental questions and he also helped me to write them because that was very challenging, especially to do by myself. And then he also made sure to remind me to apply to important things in the college process, such as FAFSA, TAP, and CUNY.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. And we all know those supplemental essays are tons of fun. So I'm sure that was a fun step of the process. Awesome. Thank you. Tiara, I will switch it to you. So how did your advisor help you navigate the college process and write your personal statement?
Well, first we started like what Brandon said with like the list of like the most important things I needed when like applying to colleges, and I would choose colleges like based off of that. And then one of like the most important things that I had put on that list was like having like disability programs and like things for disability because I have a disability, and that also like led to being like the main thing in my personal statement where I talked about like being a kid in a wheelchair in NYC and how like not a lot of areas around here are accessible to me, and like how that led to me like finding the career I wanted and how I wanted to like prove myself to like be something better than just like my disability.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tiara, and thank you for sharing a little bit about your college essay with us. We are really grateful to you both for sharing your experience and how you got support from Bottom Line through this process. I would love to shift a little bit just to talk about our student essay book. So every year, Bottom Line publishes a student college essay book where we have a collection of essays from students across our Bottom Line regions. And we are so proud and excited that Brandon and Tiara are featured in that book, which should be coming out next week. So just want to take a second to really celebrate Brandon and Tiara and all of their accomplishments, not only their personal statements, but their process throughout this entire year and all the hard work that they've put into this process as well. So if you're able to give a virtual clap, please do so or congratulate our students in the chat. Awesome. So Brandon and Tiara have both featured their essays in this book, and we'd love while they're here to share a little bit about what they wrote about and also a little passage from their college essay. So we will start with Brandon. Brandon, could you share a little bit about what your college essay was about? And then if you feel comfortable sharing a little bit of a passage from your essay as well.
Sure. I mentioned earlier that Ian supported me in one of my passions, and that is gaming. And so I'll read the first paragraph of my essay. When it comes to gaming, there are a lot of misconceptions about who's into video games and what they're all about. As someone who's been gaming for as long as I can remember, I wish people knew gaming offers players many forms of bonding and community that are unique and supportive. Virtual games and relationships can even teach teamwork, leadership, grit, resilience, and communication. Some people who are shy in person find gaming an easier way to connect with others. Gaming as an outlet was even more vital during quarantine because games can be an escape to other worlds.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I don't know if you see people in the video boxes right now, but we're giving you snaps and claps all around. Thank you so much. Awesome. I will pass it to Tiara now. Tiara, I know you shared a little bit about what your essay was about, but feel free to share a little bit more about what it was about. And then if you feel comfortable, share a little bit from your essay as well.
Okay, so basically my essay is about, being like a kid in a wheelchair in New York City and like struggling with like issues of like accessibility. Because like that's like really important to me because like I've dealt with it like throughout like the first time I've started school. So, and I'm gonna read the first paragraph. From my very first breath to this very day, I've been called a fighter. The umbilical cord wrapped around my neck cut off circulation of oxygen to my brain. This resulted in me being born with the disability known as cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy can vary in severity from person to person. In my case, I was left unable to walk. To get around, I had to use a wheelchair. Being in a wheelchair had its perks, like skipping gym class or cutting the lines at theme parks. Most of the time, though, it can be very annoying.
Thank you so much, Tiara. Thank you so much. Once again, we can give them both some virtual claps or snaps. Thank you both so much. It's so amazing to hear your stories. And we also really appreciate you coming into this space and sharing them with everyone on this call. And we're also so excited to read your full essays in the College Student Essay Book that's coming out shortly. I will pass it to Victoria. But again, thank you, Brandon and Tiara and Ian and Mandy. You all are so talented, and we can't wait to see our students thrive in college as well.
Thanks, Jackie. And thank you, Ian and Mandy, for your work in service of our students and for joining us this morning and sharing a little bit of an insight into your day-to-day. And then, of course, thank you to Brandon and Tiara for joining us on your day off from school and sharing an excerpt from your college essays. We can't wait to read them when the essay book gets released next week. We'll be sure to email that out to everybody on this call so you can both read more of Brandon and Tiara's essays as well as the other students that are featured in that book. I'll pause for a minute to see if there's any questions that folks have either for our students or for our advisors. So I'll pause for just a minute. And if you have one, you can feel free to pop it in the chat or to come off mute. All right. Well, we thank you again so much for joining us this morning. Hope this was a nice start to your Friday and an energizing way to learn a little bit more about the work here at Bottom Line and a firsthand look into the work that our advisors and students do together. So thank you again so much all for joining us. As we close out, just want to highlight a couple upcoming opportunities with Bottom Line, more opportunities like this, as well as more celebratory opportunities. So April 25th, so next week, the essay book launches. So again, watch your inboxes for those. We can't wait to share these empowering stories with you. Our spring benefit homecoming is on May 2nd at the Museum of the City of New York. I'm so excited for this event. It's going to be a really energizing evening. We're going to have a bunch of staff there, a bunch of students there, a wonderful speaking program, and a special guest of a marching band as well. So it's going to be really fun. Nikia, thanks for putting that link in the chat. So if you have not yet RSVP'd to join us, we'd love to have you at that event. And then we have two really exciting opportunities to celebrate our students in May and June. So our Star Party celebration is the culmination of our Access program and sending those students off to college. That's going to be on May 16th. And then our Recognition Night, which is our essentially Bottom Line graduation, is going to be on June 8th. So more details to come about those, but please do save the date and we'll send out more information about those as they come. And yes, thank you so much, Nikia. We did confirm we're honoring Chancellor David Banks at the homecoming event. So really excited about his participation and his validation of the work that Bottom Line is doing in New York City and with New York City public school students. Wonderful. Well, if no other questions have surfaced for folks, really just appreciate you again joining us this Friday morning. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a fantastic weekend. And thank you again to all of our staff and students who joined us today. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.